Okay, kids, so you want to be a screenwriter. Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Industry Standard, the only channel dedicated to helping any writer learn all the tricks, tips, and techniques of the exciting trade that is screenwriting. So let's get started. You've probably never heard this analogy before, but screenwriting is a lot like math. To do it successfully, you have to know your order of operations. In other words, screenwriting requires you to take certain steps, and if these steps are organized in the proper sequence, you are more likely to produce a powerful screen story that you can be proud of. Yahoo! The purpose of this channel is to give you, the writer, actionable steps that will ensure that you write an amazing screenplay or television show that will grab the industry's attention. By the way, these steps are genre-proof. The tools I'll share with you are effective whether you're writing a comedy, high-concept adventure, or an understated indie drama. No matter what genre you're writing in, follow these steps and you are going to write something attention-getting. So, let's light this candle. Okay, so before we get started, I have but one simple question. What is the prime directive for any screenwriter? Now, some of you may know the answer, but for the rest of you who don't, I'm gonna give you a couple of hints. Here's what Alfred Hitchcock once said of stories. Drama is life with the dull bits cut out. And famed novelist E.M. Forster famously stated, "Story as such can only have one merit, that of making the audience want to know what happens next." You guys seeing a pattern here? The answer is quite easy when it comes to a writer's prime directive. It's as easy as ABC. A, always. B, C, compelling. Always be compelling. In other words, don't be boring. As a writer, your screenplay will be judged by one standard and one standard only, and that is page turnability. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to suture the reader to your story from the first page to the last. That's it. Full stop. Your concept, your characters, your dialogue, your prose, your themes, all take a back seat to the page turnability of your script. If the writer can force the reader to keep reading because the reader is curious about what happens next, the writer wins, plain and simple. And if at any point and for any reason the reader wants to put your script down, you lose. This is irrespective of concept, tone, theme, what have you. Now, what can one do to increase the page turnability of your script? Well, there are many things you can do, and we will cover all of them throughout the videos on this channel. But before I give you the first actionable step in terms of what you can do, I'm going to address two specific things that you should not do. After having read countless produced and unproduced screenplays, there are two issues that most commonly undermine the page turnability of a script. And these are issues that beleaguer screenplays from seasoned and amateur writers alike. Issue number one, behavioral logic. Simply put, it means that the characters behave in ways that make absolutely no sense to the reader. So often in screenplays, I'll see the writer compromise behavioral logic for cheap plot devices or story gimmicks. The writer fails to see that behavioral logic leads to reader confusion, and a confused reader is no longer curious and is no longer sutured or emotionally connected to the story. Let's look at a quick example. This is the opening scene from 2013's Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Take them into the forest, now.
You stay here. I'll be back soon.
Please!
I said, stay here!
Father! Wait!
Now, can anyone please tell me why a father would leave his two children in the woods out in the open at night with no way to defend themselves if his goal is to keep them safe? Okay? Now, I know some of you might try to come up with rationalizations or explanations for his behavior. But the problem is that as you're writing your own movie in your head, you're no longer focused on the film itself. And that's exactly what the filmmakers don't want. Behavioral logic unsutures the audience, and this is a no-no. Issue number 2, cliches. This is the motherlode of page turnability killers. Cliches are the first sign of lazy or amateur writing. Cliches are simply overused concepts, characters, or situations. Cliches are those things that you've seen so many times in movies and so many times in screenplays that it's simply lost its emotional resonance. Examples are the goofy neighbor or the goofy best friend or cars that explode when shot at. You've seen them 1,000,001 times. In fact, cliches are so ubiquitous that there's actually a Netflix show hosted by Rob Lowe that goes into many of the Hollywood cliches and tropes that we tend to see in movies and television shows all the time. The point is basically this: just know that cliches are not only curiosity killers, but they often anger the reader because the reader's thinking, why the hell should I bother reading this particular screenplay if the writer can't bother to come up with something inventive? Okay, so cliches, bad. So how do we remedy these issues? The issues of cliches and behavioral logic? Well, here's your first actionable step. When you're writing your screenplay, make sure that you give your characters a motivated goal, okay? Make sure that your characters have a desire or a goal, and then make sure that that goal is adequately motivated. Now, how do we know if a goal is adequately motivated? Well, here's your first hack. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this chart has been used by industry professionals to motivate their characters for decades and decades and decades. Now, what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory in psychology comprising of a 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as a hierarchical levels within a pyramid. So let's check out this pyramid, shall we? At the bottom of this hierarchy, the needs start with physiological needs. And what are these needs? These are biological requirements for human survival, such as air, food, drink, shelter, clothing, warmth, and sleep. Okay, so if these needs aren't satisfied, the human body cannot function optimally. All right, so Maslow considered these physiological needs the most important, as all the other needs become secondary until these needs are met. Next up are safety needs. Once an individual's physiological needs are satisfied, the needs for security and safety become very important. People want to experience order, predictability, and control in their lives. All right, after physiological and safety needs have been fulfilled, the third level of human needs is love and belongingness. Belongingness refers to a human emotional need for interpersonal relationships, affiliating, connectedness of a group. Fourth is esteem needs, and they include self-worth, a sense of accomplishment, and respect. Maslow classified esteem needs into 2 categories: esteem for oneself, such as dignity, achievement, mastery, and independence, and 2, the desire for reputation or respect from others. Examples are like status and prestige. And the last one, and this is at the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy, these are called self-actualization needs, and they refer to the realization of a person's potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth and peak experiences. Now, Maslow describes this level as the desire to accomplish everything that one can to become the most that one can be. Sort of like Luke's wanting to be a Jedi. Okay, now, typically, but not always, needs lower down in the hierarchy must be satisfied before individuals can attend to the needs higher up. But the fact of the matter is that the use of motivated goals using these several needs is non-negotiable when it comes to your characters. The quickest way to reveal that you're an amateur is either not to have your characters want anything at all, or to give your characters a goal, but for arbitrary reasons. Make sure that your characters have a motivated goal. Now let's check out some examples. So I'm gonna prove to you, all right, that professional writers always use motivated goals. This is non-negotiable. The main characters always have something they want, and their goals are always motivated by one or several of Maslow's basic needs. Let's check it out. Okay, so here we are on my Netflix homepage, and I'm gonna click on some of these thumbnails and we'll watch the mini trailer and we'll try to figure out exactly what these characters want and what would be their motivations. Here's a comedy, The Ugly Truth. Let's check this out.
Face it, you're ugly, I am not ugly.
Well, okay, let me help you out here. You might as well face the fact that you're gonna be alone and stop pining away for some fantasy guy you're never gonna get.
How can you possibly...
Hey, Lassie, the show's called The Ugly Truth. If you can't face it, don't call. That about wraps it up for this evening. I'm Mike Chadway, reminding you that the truth is never pretty.
Okay, great. So here we have two characters and two different goals, right? She's calling in a show about dating, I think. And so she clearly wants to be in a relationship, or at least that's what's implied in the dialogue. If she wants to be in a relationship, this would be motivated by a need for love and belonging. Now, Gerard Butler's character, he seems to be a bit pompous, so he clearly wants to establish some authority, and therefore he's motivated by esteem, right? Remember that esteem needs reflect the character's desire to be respected. Katherine Heigl's character wants love and belonging, and Gerard Butler's character wants esteem. All right, let's check out another one.
Your form? You gonna give that to me?
Yes.
All right. Child in your lap? She's Maddie.
And Muriel.
What?
It's a Ariel that we got from a dollar store, so we call her Schmariel.
Are you the child's legal guardian?
Yes.
Can you prove that?
I could show you my stretch marks.
Are you currently under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No.
Are you sure? Because you look strung out.
Nope. We slept in the car last night, so...
So you're homeless?
No. No, I wouldn't say that.
So you have a home?
I had a home and then we left it.
All right, so this is I think this is a TV show, movie. I think it's a movie, I'm not sure. But from the thumbnail, we have clearly a young mother, and she's seeking some sort of public assistance. So she's in need of the most basic physiological needs, right? Her goal being to provide shelter and food for her and her child. Let's check out one more. All right, this is a popular show. Let's see what's going on here.
Who here feels like they have no idea what they're doing? I mean, are we supposed to be learning something? Because I don't feel like I'm learning anything.
Except how not to sleep.
You know, it's like there's this wall, and the attendings and the residents are over there being surgeons, and we're over here being...
Suturing, code running, lab delivering, penis minders.
I hate being an intern.
Okay, so what do these people want? Well, they are all interns and they seem very frustrated about their situation. It seems like they're not satisfied with the fact that they're not as far along in their careers as they'd like to be. It seems like that they feel as though they're not doing what they believe real doctors should be doing. So here we have people who are motivated to become doctors, who are motivated to get the respect of doctors. So it seems like this is a combination of both esteem in self-actualization, meaning realizing their utmost potential. Looking at these mini trailers, you can tell that these characters all have goals and they're all motivated. Okay, so now you can see from these films that we picked at random how writers give their characters motivated goals to address behavioral logic. But I know what you're thinking. Okay, great. You've proven that this can help with behavioral logic, but how does Maslow's hierarchy of needs address cliches? Well, it's quite simple. When it comes to avoiding cliches or being original in Hollywood, everyone subscribes to the adage of familiar but different. And what that means is that the studios love stories that are different, but not so different that the audience doesn't get what's going on. So a way to come up with something familiar but different is to take a familiar Hollywood character trope, like buddy cops or mobsters or cowboys, but then assign them with different or unconventional motives. So let me give you an example. One popular Hollywood trope is what? Zombies, right? Hollywood loves a good zombie movie, right? From World War Z to Zombieland. And typically in these movies, zombies are, brain-eating monsters who prey on humans for their survival. But what if we changed up the characters' motives? What if zombies weren't motivated to eat brains for survival, people and instead want to eat brains for, I don't know, a sense of belonging. That's weird, right? Why in the world would a zombie want to eat a brain for a sense of belonging? Well, I know it sounds weird, but guess what? That's exactly the motive of the protagonist in the 2013 film Warm Bodies starring Nicholas Hoult. In the film, Nicholas Hoult is a zombie, and when he eats the brains of his victims, he then takes on their memories. He is reminded of what it was like to be a human being, and this gives him a tremendous amount of satisfaction. So he's motivated to eat brains for a sense of belonging, to feel what it's like to be human again. That's a very, very interesting concept, okay? What other tropes are there? Serial killers. You've seen those movies 1,000,001 times, right? The serial killer trope comes a dime a dozen when it comes to Hollywood tropes. And why are most serial killers motivated to murder? Well, usually it's for personal gratification, right? That's usually why serial killers kill in movies. What if we change the motivation? What if we said that the serial killer is killing because of their sense of or their need for safety and security? That's interesting. I know it seems far-fetched, but guess what? That's exactly what motivated the title character of the popular show Dexter. Remember, Dexter was a serial killer who also worked for the Miami PD, right? And so he would prey on the predators. So he was killing while at the same time engaging in his own brand of law enforcement, safety and security. Interesting, right? And let's not forget Kevin Spacey's character in Seven, right? Why did he murder? Well, he murdered to send a message to society. And then ultimately he turned himself in. Why? Because he wanted the credit. It seems as though he was motivated by esteem needs. So as we can see, if we do the familiar but different, guess what? We can come up with some pretty original stories, right? Try to come up with characters that have interesting goals and then assign them interesting and different or unconventional motives and needs. And you might come up with some really, really interesting stories. In fact, I don't think you might, I think you will. So guess what, guys? We're at the end of the lesson. If you stuck it out this far, congratulations. And I hope this video was helpful, and I'm going to see you the next time. All right, keep writing.